Good evening, Packers, and all of you out there in our community. Glad to see you again for dinner time. It's going to be Let's Eat Together at CSE Day, and Mark's here again to talk to you. I understand there was some commentary, some confusion, and some things we'd like to clear up about an earlier announcement, which hopefully you were watching. And so now let's hang out again, and Mark's going to talk to you. We're going to stand. I feel like standing today.
I got my stress duck. See? So, obviously, there was a wee bit of confusion about what I said regarding alpha testing versus alpha testing and alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3. We got some feedback on it. We got some suggestions on it. Let me do this again. And so I'm going to do it again. I'm going to say, hopefully not the entire thing because you guys have already heard me for long enough today. But I am going to talk about what's really important. So, because of the feedback, because people were saying, wait, does this mean I don't get into alpha, or I'm not in alpha, or I wanted to be in alpha, all the alpha tests, and I don't understand why we're having alpha 1, alpha 2, when I paid for alpha, why can't I get in all the tests? Let's start again. Start with a very simple, much simpler system. Alpha testing is being delayed to February 2015. That's it. That's the important bit. Everyone who has alpha testing access will get access to alpha testing in February 2015. Prior to February 2015, we are going to have some additional testing. We're calling them, for lack of a better name and certainly a better acronym, though actually it's kind of fitting, pre-alpha tests, which is also a field goal or a point after on a touchdown. Kind of interesting, didn't think about that at the time, but that's what we're going to be doing. For these pre-alpha tests that were not ever in our planning for this game, they will start when a very large checklist is checked off. That checklist is now on our forums. So if you go to our forums, open another window, go see that checklist, you'll see what we are going to accomplish before the beginning of these tests. When we begin these tests, we will invite all of our internal testers. We will invite our alpha testers as well to come and participate in these tests. However, and this is something that's incredibly important, we did not plan on this in the beginning. You guys know that. We only talked about alpha testing. We have a lot of backers. As a matter of fact, the majority of our backers have alpha access to our game. The largest single block is that block who has alpha testing access. Because of that, because we don't want a system that's set up with only a few servers and large queues, we want to make sure that everybody, all of our alpha guys, can get in certain tests. We want our European players to be able to play at times that are convenient to them and be able to get into our alpha test. We want our folks from the West Coast who, 3 hours behind the East Coast, and can't, or most of them couldn't see the initial presentation live, will be able to get into alpha tests. But in order to do that, we have to manage it a little. That's all. We have to make sure that we manage the test properly so you guys aren't sitting in a queue forever to try to get into a few servers. And as almost all of us know who have played these games and who've been in alpha or beta tests for these games, that's how the studios always do it. Because of the expense, because they haven't bought the servers yet or they haven't spun up the servers yet. It's no different for us. But we want to do it better. We want to be smarter. We want to make sure that you guys aren't sitting in a queue for, well, we have a test on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Tuesday goes by and you couldn't get in. Wednesday goes by and you couldn't get in. Thursday, hey, you get in 10 minutes before the test end. That's terror bad. That's awful. That's ass-tastic. That is no fun. So what we thought, we would set something up where players can easily get into these tests. So we can have servers that are, and tests that are geared to the Europeans, that are geared to the West Coast guys. And what I said about testers who have more time to commit, being able to get into other tests, that applies to them too. If you're someone who can tell us that, hey Mark, if you run tests during these hours, I can commit an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. That is helpful to us. It's not about taking privileges away from people. It's about giving additional access that we hadn't planned on, and that we hadn't even talked about here in the studio until we knew we were going to be late with the alpha testing. And that's all it is. And we just want to find a better way for you, our backers, to be able to get in and actually test. Because let's face it, if we were holding these pre-alpha tests and you couldn't get in as an alpha tester for an entire week, how upset would you be? Well, a lot of you would be very upset. And it would lead to a lot of negative feedback. And it would lead to a lot of issues. So we want to avoid that. Same for our European players. If we start a test that's convenient to them, that's great. But if we start one that isn't convenient to them and they can't get in, then they have a right to be upset. So all I was trying to communicate, and obviously I didn't do it as well. And just as a reminder, if you guys see me sitting again, I do better when I'm standing. I always do. So, this is going to be, I have no idea what you just said to me, Tyler. Tyler's holding up a sheet, and there's English written on it. Right. Okay. Now I understand. I guess he used too big of a words that had God. It's like too. Oh look, Tyler's coming in now. He's going to try to give me a hug.
No. I'm just on the other side. He's going to try and give me a hug.
We're just trying to find a way to both make it easy for you guys, our alpha testers, who obviously are now seeing your alpha test delayed. We're trying to make sure that you can get some additional, bennies, additional time within the game that we hadn't originally planned on. So again, to sum up, alpha testing delayed until February 2015, just as I said, 6 hours ago. In between now and that date, we will be inviting more people in to test the game than we had planned on initially. A lot more people. As a matter of fact, all our alpha testers at some point, we hope will be able to play the game. That is what we're doing. And don't forget, the other thing that I think was very important that we certainly talked about in the Q&A for a while was the guarantee. Not only are we apologizing, as I did already for being late, not only are we trying to make it up to you guys by giving you additional time in the game, but we also are putting a guarantee behind it that if we are late, if we mess up for whatever reasons, apocalypse, flooding, being dumb, plague, that we're going to compensate you guys for it. Another thank you to you for your support. So I hope that that clarifies everything. Tyler, did I clarify everything? Did I miss anything?
We simplified things.
Okay, we tried to simplify things. That's good because I'm basically simple. And one of the things we're also going to do, and this is what Tyler was asking me, asking me to say, was about a survey. And yes, we're going to take a survey from you guys. We want to see when you can be available, you alpha testers, and see if, frankly, we can add more people who can help us make this game better. So that's it. I'm not going to spend a lot more time explaining what I explained at 12. I'm going to have a post that will go up soon, which details all of this, as well as I think there are 37 items on our checklist to begin the first round of pre-alpha testing. And now we can do another, Q&A that won't last as long as the last one did. And I'm surprised my voice has lasted as long as it has. But okay, open it up and let's get the Q&A started again, boys and girls. Just like last time, questions only about alpha, please. We forgot, by the way, apologies, we forgot to set it so that it won't gray out on us. Hey, Gorgorico, hello from beautiful downtown Fairfax. There you go, Macbeth. Argent, I'm glad you appreciate the clarification. Wish I had done a better job the first time. Obviously I didn't, and for that I apologize as well. Seth, double mark Wednesday could be a thing. Oh, God.
You can also do story time as well on Wednesdays.
From Macuraz about the 10 abilities, is it going to be what's in the end game? No, absolutely not. This is just stuff we are testing now. Variants on them, of course, will be in the final game, but what you're going to see in IT and the pre-alpha tests are not the exact abilities that will be in the game. It's all for testing. So we're focusing on things that are most important. And again, folks, we're not going to talk about Alpha 1 anymore because that was just too confusing. And I apologize for that. It is going to be, we have Alpha and then pre-Alpha testing. That's all there is. We'll be running pre-Alpha tests in between now and Alpha. From Graham, will the survey be used to choose the additional internal testers? It won't be used to choose internal testers, but we will use it to break down and look at people who might be available at better times. And by the way, if I start sweating, for all of you guys who followed us, by this hour, the air conditioning in this place is kicked off. So it's starting to get warm in here. And of course, today had to be a typically warm August day. A question about will the alpha invites be based on builder tier donation level? Actually, no. There'll be, if we chose, which we're not saying we are, but if we had to choose by something like how much you donated via the alpha test, we wouldn't do that. Would we do it by who backed us first? Yeah, I'm absolutely willing to do that. I'm sorry if some people get angry over that, but if we had to choose that way, and again, we're hoping we won't have to, but if we have to choose that way, yes, we would do it by, when you guys came in. Can you pass me a paper towel, please? Thank you. Because frankly, if you've been backing us, from day one or from the beginning of the Kickstarter, this will be another small bonus. But again, I hope we won't have to do that. Clarification on when all alpha backers will be